A fair warning. The following video talks about immigration, Donald Trump, the United States of America, Bad Bunny, ICE, and racism. Viewer discretion is advised. On February 8, 2026, Super Bowl LX took place at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, California. An average of 125.6 million people in the United States watched the game, which featured the Seattle Seahawks against the New England Patriots. During halftime, viewership rose to 128.2 million for Bad Bunny's performance. But why did that performance matter so much? To answer that, we have to look at three things: Bad Bunny's criticism of the US government, the government and its responses, and his performance. Section 1: Bad Bunny and his criticism of the United States. To start, let's look at the halftime show's headliner himself. Bad Bunny's legal name is Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio. He was born in Bayamon, Puerto Rico on March 10, 1994. He is Puerto Rican, and that identity has always been central to both his music and his public image. Puerto Rico is a territory of the United States. After the Spanish-American War in 1898, the U.S. took control of the island, and Puerto Rico's modern political history has been shaped by its unequal relationship with America. That history still affects how Puerto Ricans are treated, how the island is discussed, and how its people are represented in American public life. Benito clearly understands that, and he has never been afraid to say so publicly. On September 28, 2025, Bad Bunny was officially announced as the headliner of the Apple Music Super Bowl LX halftime show. In the announcement, he framed the opportunity as something bigger than himself, saying, "This is for my people, my culture, and our history." That statement raised an obvious question: why bring Puerto Rican identity, culture, and history into a Super Bowl conversation? The answer is fairly simple. Because of anti Latino racism in the United States, the politics surrounding immigration, and growing fears around deportation and immigration enforcement, Bad Bunny has become even more vocal about Puerto Rico and about Latinos in general. His public stance has increasingly centered on protecting his community, criticizing the U.S. government's treatment of immigrants, and refusing to make himself more palatable for people who dislike what he represents. That same stance showed up in other decisions too. In 2025, Bad Bunny explained that he left the mainland United States off his Debí Tirar Más Fotos tour because of fears that ICE could target Latino fans at his concerts. Multiple outlets reported that concern directly, and this was not new for him. In 2027, he criticized the federal government's response to Hurricane Maria and publicly mocked Donald Trump's behavior toward Puerto Rico. In 2019, he paused his tour to join protests in Puerto Rico that contributed to Governor Ricardo Rosello's resignation. In 2024, he amplified anti Trump messaging during his presidential campaign. In 2025, he posted a video of immigration arrests and angrily condemned ICE. Then, at the 2026 Grammy Awards, he openly said, "ICE out," and argued that immigrants were being dehumanized, saying, "We are humans and we are Americans." Bad Bunny has also spoken out in support of LGBTQ people. He drew attention to the killing of Alexa Luciano, a trans woman from Puerto Rico, and used his platform to condemn transphobia. In 2020, he wore drag in the Yo Perreo Sola video and used the song to reinforce a message about consent and respecting women. Taken together, all of this makes one thing clear: Bad Bunny did not enter the Super Bowl as a neutral entertainer. He entered it as a Puerto Rican artist with a long public record of advocacy, criticism, and refusal to stay quiet. Section 2: Trump, Conservatives, ICE, and the Backlash. As you can imagine, those views did not make him popular with everyone. Even before the halftime show, conservative commentators and political figures were already attacking the decision to have him headline. Donald Trump said he had never heard of Bad Bunny and criticized the NFL for choosing him. After the show, Trump called the performance absolutely terrible, one of the worst ever, and an affront to the greatness of America. Reuters also reported backlash from conservative figures over his anti-ICE statements and over the halftime show itself. A lot of that backlash centered on familiar complaints: that he performs mostly in Spanish, that he is too political, that he criticizes U.S. immigration policy, and that he openly embraces Puerto Rican and Latino identity on one of the biggest stages in American media. Representative Andy Ogles also attacked the show, calling it inappropriate and demanding investigation, while conservative organizers promoted an alternate traditional halftime event featuring figures like Kid Rock. Reuters reported that the backlash came heavily from conservative media and political circles. At the same time, many others praised Bad Bunny for doing exactly what he did. To supporters, he was not ruining the Super Bowl. He was making use of a massive platform to speak for immigrants, Puerto Ricans, and Latinos who are often marginalized in mainstream American culture. Additionally, they hoped that he would at least somewhat stop the ICE killings, for example, the killings of Alex Pretty and Renee Nicole Good, or encourage others to call for an end to them. And importantly, Bad Bunny himself made clear that he was still proud to perform. He did not treat the criticism as something that invalidated the moment. If anything, it seemed to confirm exactly why the performance mattered. Section 3. The Performance. Instead of toning himself down, avoiding controversy, or trying to seem less threatening to conservatives, Bad Bunny did the opposite. He performed almost entirely in Spanish and built the entire halftime show around Puerto Rican identity, history, and life. The show opened with a declaration of Latino pride and immediately established its cultural frame. From there, the performance became packed with specifically Puerto Rican symbols and references. Piraguas, dominoes, family gatherings, street vendors, sugarcane fields, neighborhood life, and the feeling of growing up inside a living culture. One of the most striking recurring images was sugarcane. That imagery evoked Puerto Rico's colonial past and the island's long history of labor exploitation. Other moments highlighted everyday transitions instead: elderly men playing dominoes, cold coconut water, gossip filled beauty spaces, and the textures of ordinary Puerto Rican community life. His wardrobe carried meaning too. Rather than wearing something generic, Bad Bunny took the stage in a cream white jersey that said Ocasio and the number 64. He later explained that it was a tribute to his uncle who helped introduce him to football and who had dreamed with him long before this performance ever happened. That gave the show an intimate layer beneath all of its national and political messaging. The performance also moved through larger Latino and Caribbean cultural references. There are nods to reggaeton history, boxing culture, Noyo Rican life, and the migration stories that connect Puerto Rico to places like New York and Los Angeles. At one point, the show turned into a full reggaeton celebration, with Bad Bunny explicitly honoring Puerto Rico's musical legacy and telling the crowd, in Spanish, that this was Puerto Rico's music. Another especially emotional moment centered on a young boy styled to resemble a younger Benito. The symbolism was obvious. The child represented possibility, memory, and the dream that someone from Puerto Rico could imagine themselves onto a stage this big and actually get there. Then the tone shifted again with El Apagón. That part of the performance directly referenced Puerto Rico's electrical instability, blackouts, and the broader political and economic conditions behind them. In one of the show's most overtly political moments, Bad Bunny used the halftime stage not just to celebrate Puerto Rico, but to remind millions of viewers that the island's struggles are ongoing and structural. A billboard during the performance read, "The only thing more powerful than hate is love." That echoed the message he had delivered at the Grammys just a week earlier, where he condemned anti-immigrant hatred and insisted on responding through solidarity rather than dehumanization. He closed the performance with a message of unity across the Americas, naming countries from across Latin America and the Caribbean, and ending with Puerto Rico still firmly centered in the picture. The final screen message again reinforced the same point. The only thing more powerful than hate is love. Section 4. Conclusion. Bad Bunny's halftime show was entertaining, visually dense, and full of cultural references, but it was also unmistakably political. That is exactly what made it so impactful. Rather than separating entertainment from identity, Benito used one of the most visible stages in American culture to celebrate Puerto Rico, defend immigrants, criticize cruelty, and insist on Latino visibility without apology. Whether someone loved the performance or hated it, it clearly meant something beyond music, and that is probably why it mattered so much. If there is one line worth taking from the performance before forming an opinion, it is this: the only thing more powerful than hate is love. Thank you for watching. Here are all of my sources, and have a good morning, day, afternoon, evening, or night. Bye, guys.